Hello guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about vacations. So first, I want you to think about this. What comes to your mind when you hear the word beach? Maybe you're thinking about the ocean, sand, traveling, friends. What other things come to your mind? Please pause the video and write down some ideas. Okay guys, now I want you to think about this. What would it be like to live on the beach? I want you to write some positive things and some negative things that could happen when living on the beach. Please pause the video and write down three ideas for each. Okay, guys? So you're going to read an article about living in Barbados. So I want you to please go to your student book pages 72 and 73. On page 72, you will find this activity. And on page 73, you will find the article. Please read it and then decide if these sentences are true or if they are false. Pause the video while you read and decide of the sentences. Okay, guys, now we are going to check. So, the author enjoys the prospect of living near the beach. That is false. The author doesn't want to move to Barbados. That's true. Very good. The author is originally from Scotland. That's false. Very good. The author's wife wants to move to Barbados. That's true. The author's wife is supportive of her daughter's idea. That is true as well. Very good. And the author's wife grew up near the beach. That is false. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at the last sentences. The author's daughter Amanda enjoys the prospect of living near the beach. That's true. Amanda hates the cold. That is also true. And finally, Amanda gets her way and moves to Barbados. That's actually false. Okay, guys. Now, I want you to please go to your student book page 74. Here you have a summary of last story, and I want you to please organize it. So we have the first one. A little over a year ago, my 12-year-old daughter announced, number two, that she would be moving to Barbados. She insisted that. What did she insist on? Please pause the video while you organize all of these ideas and then come back to check. Okay, so number three is Scotland was too cold and rainy. Number four, growing up on the beach is more fun. She tried to persuade me. I understood her point of view. I reassured her, but also felt it necessary to mention the cons of living near the beach. I explained my own experience of growing up on the beach, but in the end came up with a compromise by suggesting that she spend the summer holidays in Barbados. After her return, my daughter confessed that she could understand my point of view as well. Okay, very good, guys. Now, I want you to please read these sentences. Are they the original sentences? And what verbs are used to report what was said? Please pause the video while you think about this. So, if you notice, these are not the original sentences. These are sentences reporting what was mentioned or what was said in the past. And what verbs are used to report what was said? Well, we have announced, insisted, persuade, and suggested. Very good. Okay, guys. Now, I want you to please go ahead and take a look at this. Who was the speaker and who was the listener in each of these sentences? Please pause the video while you identify and then come back. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. My daughter is the speaker in the first sentence. So she announced that she would be moving to Barbados. But who was the listener? We don't know. she insisted that Scotland was too cold and rainy. Again, she is the person who said this, but again, we don't know who listened to this information. Maybe it was the whole family, maybe it was the mother, the father, we don't know. Growing up on the beach was more fun, she tried to persuade me. So the speaker again is she, the daughter, but here we do have a listener, which is me. So I heard this information. He suggested that she should research more about to take more before taking a decision. So here the speaker would be him, the father, but we do not know again who listened to this information. So if you notice, we have some verbs that have a direct object that we know who the listener is, but we also have other verbs in which we do not know who the listener is, and they are called say verbs. Now, before we go on with that, I want you to please look at this. What structure do reporting verbs have, and what happens to the main verbs? So I have the reporting verbs in pink, and I have the main verbs in green. What happens to them? Please pause the video while you think about this. Okay, guys, so if you notice, the reporting verbs, they are in past. The only exception here is persuade, but if you notice, it says she tried to persuade me. So this is in past. And I also could say I persuaded her to think about it more. So persuaded, we're going to use this in simple past. Now, what happens to the main verbs? Well, as you probably remember, we usually do a back shift in the tenses, which we're going to review a little bit more right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back shift. And when we have reported speech, usually what we do is we change the tense of the verb in direct speech to its past form. For example, from present simple to past simple, from present continuous to past continuous, and so on. So basically, what we do is we are changing the tenses that were in the present to the past version, and the tenses that were in the past, like past simple or past continuous, we're going to use them in past perfect or past perfect continuous. The only ones that are not going to change are past perfect because it stays the same, or past perfect continuous, again, it stays the same. So do you remember that this is that the tenses are back shifted. They are like one time in the past. Now, what happens when you have a modal like will, can, must, may, ought to, should, would, could, or might? Well, some modals change. Will becomes would, can becomes could, must becomes had to, and may becomes might. The rest of the models, we're going to keep them the same way as they were, so we are not going to make a change. Okay, and let's remember that when we have a modal, the verb after the modal is base form, and we continue with the base form after the modal. Now let's go ahead and continue, guys. So I want you to please classify the verbs into tell and say verbs. So let's remember that the tell verbs are the ones where you have the listener, so you know who this listener is, and the say verbs, you do not know who the listener is. Okay? So you can go and check some examples in your student book, page 63. You have some sentences that have these verbs, and you can also use your dictionary to classify them. Please pause the video while you work on this. Okay, guys, let's check. So the verbs that are used with a listener with a direct object are advise, assure, convince, encourage, inform, persuade, reassure. And say verbs, or the ones who we don't usually use with a subject, are admit, announce, claim, confess, confirm, explain, insist, mention, and suggest. Now, if you notice, some of the say verbs have a star: confess, confirm, explain, and suggest. And it's because they can become a tell verb if you use to. So, I confessed to him that I had broken his cell phone. Okay, so if I have a to after the verb, then yes, I can say who heard this information. Now, let's continue, guys. Let's go to our workbook, page 29. Here, you're going to match the verbs with their definitions. For example, we have the first one: offer an idea for someone to consider is to suggest. Number two, give your opinion to someone about the best thing to do. Is that advice, assure, claim, convince, mention, persuade, or reassure? Well, if you're giving your opinion about the best thing to do, is advice. Very good. Now pause the video while you work on the rest, please. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and check. Tell someone that something will happen or that something is true so that there is no doubt is to assure. Make someone feel less worried about something is to reassure. When you make someone believe that something is true, you convince them. And when you make someone agree to do something by giving them good reasons, you persuade. Now, when you say something in conversation without giving it much importance, you're just mentioning something. And if you say that something is true, even if there is no proof, you claim something. Okay, guys, very good. Now, I want you to please go and work in exercise 2. We're still in workbook page 29. Here you have to choose the correct alternative, the correct verb to complete the sentences. For example, we already have the first one. He claimed that the New York Giants had won the cup in 1997, but nobody agreed. So he didn't have any proof, so that's why we have claim. Number 2, I can you that we will do everything possible to make your stay comfortable. Assure, claim, confirm, or explain. So in this case, we are going to choose assure because I am telling someone that something will happen and that this is true. Okay, so I am making sure that this person doesn't have a doubt because we are going to make the stay very comfortable. Now pause the video while you work on the rest, please. Okay, guys, this is the end of the video. We're going to check this exercise in class, okay? I will see you there. Bye bye.